Hello, everyone, and welcome back to What's Your Mess? Mental, Emotional, Social Status of Life. I'm your host, Tracey D. Armstrong, and we're back again with another episode and another amazing guest that's here to share her stories of triumph, resilience, and the strength that she had to get through and to overcome one of her messes in life. And I am going to get out of the way and let her introduce herself. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. I'm Reverend Joanne in your Barry Cologne. I am the founder of Holistic Fitness and Why. I do serve and help women over 40, helping them to get strong and reminding them that weights are their friend. I'm a Reiki master, holistic integrative teacher, medical astrologer, master of numerology, card creator, card reader, and I have also self-published and authored 6 books. I'm a mom and a wife. And I'm here to share my mess. That is now my message. Super excited to be here with each and every one of you. And just want to put it out there, just in case you're wondering and curious about the mess that you're in and thinking that you're all alone in this world. We all go through it. It's part of what we came here to do. It's our contract. And I'll talk more about the contract in a little while.
Okay, yes. With all of those accolades and all of those things and all of the books, like that is so amazing. That's great. But I know that hasn't always been the case. So let's tell everyone a little bit about your mess and something that you've gone through.
Definitely. So mess started off going back in, oh my God, probably 2007. After, as I like to call it, randomly, a 12-year relationship coming to a complete halt. So I thought anyway, because I didn't see what's called the red flags. Relationship ended. And when you are with somebody for 12 years, every single day, from day to night, you sort of lose yourself in the process of that relationship. And that's exactly what happened to me when the relationship ended. I decided that I was going to go to therapy and sat in therapy session for 45 minutes and had a conversation with the therapist about the ex, wanting to know what I can do to help him, to make him feel better, and to mend the relationship. And for 45 minutes, I chatted about this gentleman. And at the very end of the conversation of the session, the therapist asked me if I can come back the following day. And I was like, oh, I think I can. Any reason why? Yes, I would like to get to know about you. I was like, well, you're not listening for the 45 minutes that I just talked? She goes, I sure was. I heard all about the fact that you want to help him and you want to help him feel better and get better so you can mend the relationship. But I know absolutely nothing about you. I was like, oh. So I left her office, went to my car, sat in my car for 2.5 hours. And I kid you not, 2.5 hours, bawling in tears with just sitting there wondering, like, what just took place for 45 minutes? So, of course, the next day, that morning, I called the therapist, letting her know that I was not able to make that appointment. So I decided the rest of that week, as I'm home, going through my day to day, whatever I was doing, because as a businesswoman at that time, and still, I had to keep the business going. I couldn't lay in the bed under my covers, melting away in reference of heartache and whatever not. Yet I was sitting home watching Oprah, those of you who know her. She had the entire cast of The Secret on her show. Now, if you're not familiar with the word of the book Secret, it's by Rhonda Burns. It's an amazing book. And as sitting listening, I decided I was going to get up, go over to the bookstore, and purchase myself a copy. And I did exactly what every one of the contributors to the book said, randomly open the book. So I randomly opened the book, and can we guess what chapter I opened it to? Relationships. So I did the entire process of what the chapter talked about, and I took a notebook and journaled every single day. And then I led into other books that I was starting to read about self-help, how to raise myself back up, how to find me. Because obviously in that 12-year relationship, I guess I lost me. I lost who I really was. So for one straight year, I did journaling, self-help, self-help. And I even found, or should I say, it found me, Reiki level 1. Now, if you're not familiar with Reiki energy healing, it's a healing process that one does for themselves to move the energy just by applying their own hands together and activating the energy, and then applying the energy onto their body to clear out whatever needed clearing. And I don't know, somewhere along the line in this process of working with Reiki energy healing, my intuition expanded. And I started learning things about myself that I didn't even know about. So with the Reiki and my self journaling, and I say about this took place back in 2007. In 2011, my mom went into the hospital on the eve of my birthday, and 8 days later, unexpectedly passed away, which led me to another process of, oh my God. Only difference though with this passing was I had this ability to literally connect with her. I was literally sitting at my kitchen table one night in the process of completing my bachelor, my associate's degree, and I was struggling with an answer to a question. And I was sitting there, it's getting really, really late, about 2 in the morning, and my eyes are puffy. And all of a sudden, and I was the only one in the house, all of a sudden, I felt like somebody else was with me. And I looked up from my notebook, and there my mom was sitting literally right across from me. And I just stood at her, and my eyes were really bright, bright, bright. And I was like, wow. And she said to me, get up and go wash your face, run some cold water on your face and come back and you'll have the answer. And my eyes just stood really wide. And I was like, no, shaking my head, no. If I leave, if I get up and walk away, you're not going to be here. And she said, you have to go wash your face. So I did, went and washed my face, came back, and Lord knows when I got back, she was not there. Yet, sitting there, I realized that, wow, I actually had a conversation with my mom. I was actually able to see my mother. Wow, I was so impressed. The next morning, I went and told my dad all about it. And of course, he says, you missed your mom so much that you imagined her being there. I says, no, she was really there, literally sitting on the chair, having a conversation with me. And he just pacified me. And I let it go. So anyway, in addition to the loss of the 12-year relationship and then my mom crossing over, all these different, shall we say, phenomena, energies were showing up for me. From intuition, being able to see, being able to feel, being able to hear, specifically her, because I think that's really where the energy was, connecting with her and becoming more curious about what other modalities are there, starting with the Reiki, and then I eventually became interested in crystals, wanting to really take a deep dive in understanding what crystal healing was about, and keeping in mind that with the loss of my mom and the relationship, it was like this double process of who am I now? And literally picking up, let's say, rose quartz and holding it into my hand and placing it across my chest to make that connection to who I am now. Who am I? And I would get the answers from the crystals to who I am. So moving forward from one day to the next, after mom crossing over, I would say probably a little less than a year later, with my journaling and sitting in meditation, I just kept getting messages from my mom. And I didn't know what these messages were, but they were coming very rapidly while driving. And I had to pull over every time she would give me a message because it was so long that I started writing them. And before I knew it, I had pages and pages and pages of information. And then I was introduced to an astrologer, and he was looking at my astrology chart. And he says to me, do you know that you could be doing what I'm doing? And I looked at him, excuse me? He goes, you can be doing what I'm doing. In fact, you should be doing what I'm doing. And I was totally confused on what he meant by it. I was like, okay, if you say so. He goes, and by the way, you have a book in you. I says, I have a who? You have a book. I was like, that should be funny, considering like to put even 5 words together to make a sentence. Nevertheless, paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs to create a book.
Mm-hmm.
And little behold, I reached out to him roughly 6 months later and said, would you be willing to create a cover for my book? And he says, of course. 1 year after that, I celebrated the year anniversary of my first self-published book called Healing Within Meditations. There are 60 meditations in this amazing book, and every meditation literally was intuitively downloaded by my mother to me. From inspirational meditations to just healing meditations. And that book led into another book, led into another book. And like I said, 6 books later, over a course of from 2012 to roughly about maybe 2016, I literally published 6 amazing books. In addition to that process of getting to know who I was, in this process of being a quote unquote healer and taking a deeper dive in who I am on a soul level, discovering me from a soul level as for at that point in time, it was like 30 years as being a personal trainer, helping women really work on their physical body so they can reshape their body, quote unquote, lose weight, look great in the pair of jeans or that dress or the wedding dress. Fast forward to now, the process of as being a personal trainer is more of a holistic personal trainer, where it's about helping women transform their mind, their body, their emotions, and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, it's really about them getting to understand who they are on a soul level. And all of this came from just the process of just that 1 year or 2 years, 3 years, and going back to that breakup that might have felt like a year where I was in this cloud of a space, not knowing really who I am, what I was doing. I always knew my purpose. That was never something that needed to be put to the side. I never lost the focus of what my purpose was on earth. It was just more of all these amazing modalities that just opened. Every door, one door after another, just opened up to that point where really getting to understand what my purpose was, what my bigger purpose was in this process. So as I'm going through this whole process of the relationship ending, my mom crossing over, writing the first book, making that connection with being a level 1, and roughly, let's see, mom passed away in 2011. By about 2012, I was introduced to a Reiki master who decided that after his training sessions with me, he wanted to receive Reiki from me. And I giggled and I'm like, as a Reiki level 1, I'm not allowed to give Reiki to somebody else until I get that achievement. Mm-hmm. And he looked at me, he says, oh, you're already a master. I said, no, my certificate says level 1. He says, well, we have to change that. So several weeks later, he reached out to me and asked me if he would be able to offer a Reiki level 2 at my place of business. And of course, he wanted me to attend the class. So I did. And at the end of that class, I was attuned as a Reiki 2, which then allowed me, even though he said I already was, allowed me to then give Reiki to other people. And then shortly after that moment, a little less than 6 months later, which is really unconventional when it comes to being a Reiki practitioner, most in practice believe that when you get your first attunement level 1, there should be at least a year, which with my case there was a real big gap. Level 2 should have been another year. However, with that case, based on the master, he felt it was extremely important for me to get my mastership within 6 months. After I received my level 2, 6 months later, he addressed me again, asked about having another class at my space, and asked me to be a part of it. And then I received my Reiki attunement level 3 as a master. And from that point, being a master opened up another layer to my mess, shall we say. Because
Okay.
again, there's layers of mess. So as I evolved, other messes show up.
That's
Because that's the
true.
process that we're here. You know, as you evolve, you think when you're evolving that nothing's ever going to happen, everything's going to be perfect. The more you evolve, the more you really get to connect with yourself on a soul level, the more modalities you work with, crystals and herbs and essential oils and sound healing and mediumship and death doula, that expands your evolution. It expands your process of different lessons that you need to learn so then you can help, because that's the process of our mess, is in
Mm-hmm.
order for me to help any woman go through their challenges, I need to have had to experience something similar to be able to help them through their darkest moments.
That's
And
right.
that's the process
Mm-hmm.
of the mess. Now, in addition to my mess, in addition to becoming the master and certifying many other practitioners and some as masters as well, over the years, I then decided back in 2019 that, oh, writing 6 books, or at that point, I think it probably was 3 at that point, writing 3 books and all these different modalities. Oh, well, I need to do something else. So I expanded and decided to create a TV show. I'm gonna grab a little water for this one.
Okay.
And in the process of creating a TV show, which as I showed in my introduction, I created a deck of cards. Another layer, another layer. And we think about these layers of what's the next mess. That sometimes now my biggest, I guess, joke in the day is what mess will I experience now that I opened up another layer?
Mm-hmm.
And the messes, as we like to call them, again, based on our ego, we think of things when we go through challenges. We think of it as like, oh my God, it's chaos. It's the end of the world. Until we really recognize that no, it's just another layer. So we can get ourselves to the next layer. So of course, 2019, I signed a contract to have my own TV show. Did that for a full year. In addition to signing the contract, again, my mom stepped in and helped me create this beautiful deck of cards. And then, of course, we all know a year after that, 2020 came in,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the pandemic.
Yep.
I like to think at this point now we all have a mess.
Right. Exactly. The
We
worldly
all
myth.
have a mess. Yes, we all have a mess because at now that point, bypassing the 12-year relationship that ended, and of course my mom being my spirit guide now, but everything that I do, everything that I've done up until this point, I will always check in on mom to make sure, is what I'm about to do something that serves my highest purpose for why I'm here? So 2020 comes, the entire world gets locked down, and I continue my business. I continue running my business. Didn't close it, kept it open. Had clients coming day to day. A lot of my clients ended up not coming just due to their mess. And then by 2021, business started shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point in time, it was like, okay, so what am I going to do? I have to make bill. I have to make the rent. I have to keep the doors open. Or do I have to keep the doors open? I had to make a huge decision at that point in time. What am I going to do? So 2022, to be exact, September 2022, because I love numbers, I made the decision to shut down my 22-year storefront and
Wow.
decided that it was time to take my storefront and make it a virtual business.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Whoever thought?
Right.
22 years in business, I was going to take everything. I had two floors, 1,700 square feet on each floor of equipment that I had to figure out what I was going to do with it because I owned it all. In
Mm,
22 years, I purchased every piece of my equipment. What was I going to do with it? Try to sell it, try to give it away, try to do whatever, because I knew there was no way I could put all this equipment in storage because that itself would be another bill. And if that's
right.
the case, I might as well keep my studio open.
Exactly.
So it was a big decision to have to come to that point in regards to what do I do next? And does it serve me? Does it serve my business to decide to transition out of a storefront into a virtual business? And I just kept hearing from my mom, yes, it serves you. This is the direction the fitness industry is going to be going anyway.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay. So I follow her guidance as usual, shut down the storefront, put some of my equipment in storage. And the day I put everything into storage, I had a complete breakdown because I
Yeah.
literally saw my store, my first I saw my store completely empty
Right.
and just stood there in the middle of in the middle of the store now, just like, wow, 22 years. To this day, to this moment, I still get very heartbroken by the factor of 22 years. Sometimes I sit back and I say, did I fail because I had to close my studio down after 22 years? And my mom constantly keeps reminding me, no, 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 you didn't fail. You did not fail. You are progressing. Failing would have been staying, knowing that you would have had a challenge every single day to try to make your rent. You made a huge decision that took courage to do. So as I sat at the storage place, locked the door to the storage space with some of the equipment that I kept, cried as I did it, walked away. And in that process, since 2022, been running my business virtually, another evolution occurs. Because it's like, wow, now I'm working from home. I don't have to go anywhere. I get to meet people worldwide, like I'm meeting all of you, and as I'm meeting Tracey here for the very first time. And I just kept asking, like, what is this purpose? What was the purpose of the pandemic?
Right.
Was the pandemic really about what it was about? Or was it really about the whole fact of every one of us moving into the space of evolving, shifting? And the only way we really could have evolved and shift was to isolate, was to quiet ourselves down, or to get to that place where to go into that deep discovery of who we really are. And we couldn't do a deep discovery being surrounded by many people and constantly being in movement. So as I sat and evaluating my business and evaluating my clientele, I get another spiritual hit from my mom. It's time to change up the way you do your business. Other than the fact that you're sitting and now doing your business virtually, it's time to change up the whole process. So my business name change went from Fitness or Us to Holistic Fitness with a W. And with my business name changing, my whole process of, as I said earlier, being a personal trainer for as long as I have, 40 plus years, and blending all of these different modalities, taking these modalities. I literally said one day to one of my mentors, like with all these different modalities and being a personal trainer, like what am I supposed to do? See some clients for personal training and then some clients for the healing? Like, how's this all going to work? And she says, ask your mom that question. I was like, okay. So I did. Rusty mom, spirit guidance. I asked her. I said, so how is this all going to work? And she goes, you have to blend them together. You have to help your clients move into a space of moving out of the space of the as I like to call it, the 3D energy, the 3 dimension, what we can see in front of us, all the materialistic energies, and coming out of this whole process of how they address their health, their fitness, their nutrition, and wellness. That is not the process of let's get on a scale and see how much we weigh. And if you're not in the standards and the protocol of what we're supposed to weigh, it's not about that. The approach that I have is we're not losing weight. We're going to recompose and we're going to reshape the weight. So the process that I go by is to revolutionize health, fitness, nutrition, and wellness. Letting go of the habits, the beliefs, and programmings that we've been programmed and conditioned to believe for so many years, and coming away from that whole process. And really sitting with it with my mom in spirit and getting that point of understanding that everything that I've gone through up until this point has literally led me to where I am today. I'm going to backtrack just for a moment.
Okay.
And let all of you know that I literally started in the health, fitness, and wellness industry when I was 12. 12.
Wow.
12. At 12 years old, I had a beautiful invitation from the instructor that I would take my weekly gymnastics class with, being the youngest person in the class. And you probably say, why on earth are you in a gymnastics class at 12 years old? Well, because I was so conscious about wanting to stay healthy. And I started dancing at the age of 9, always kept active. And the instructor took ill the day of our class and asked me, out of all the members, and I was the youngest one in the class, she asked me if I would like to student teach. I couldn't say yes fast enough. So I got up in front of the class, looked out to all the members, again, them all being older than me. At that very moment is when I knew, oh, I'm here to help women be in the best shape of their lives. At that point, and now here it is at the ripe age of 54, and we'll go back to like 52 when the evolution opened, where I literally am being guided that, yeah, we want to shift this a little bit. We're not going to focus on the 3D materialistic, just want to look good in a pair of jeans. This is really about the connection that we have as a spiritual being, having human experiences, so many human experiences, and being able to welcome the different messes that we go through. Now, again, some of us may go through horrific messes, more intensified than the mess that I've been through. And some of us may go through a mess that I was through. The level of the mess is not as important as understanding that that mess is literally the message. And that message is not a one-time message. That message expands and expands and expands. And if we had more and more time, I could elaborate on all the different level of messes that I've gone through leading me up to this very point now. Because there's layers. And the more we peel a layer, the more we evolve, the more we recognize that we have intuition. And when we can learn to listen to intuition, we can better understand the very moment of why we're experiencing that mess, as it is the message. And when we can get to that place of understanding the message, it helps us. Every one of us, I truly believe, every one of us has a book in us, which is a story. And there's reasons why we have a story in us to write a book, because every one of us is that shining light for the next person going through what they're going through. And if we can all remember that we all have that light in us, and it's our responsibility to dip into that light, to shine that light out, because there's somebody else who needs that support. So it's extremely important for me to make sure my light is shining, so that other woman beside me can see and not feel alone in the mess that she's in, and recognizing that it's okay. It's just a mess, not a life sentence. Just a
Right.
mess, not a life sentence. We will get through. You will be able to climb up out of that mess and find your message and recognize that you are powerful, you are empowering, you are strong. And I think that's really important for us to remember, is that we are strong. And that's one of the reasons why, again, I say it all the time to my clients, God doesn't give you what he knows you cannot handle. So if your mess is intense, he knows you're strong enough to push through that mess. And I mean, I have worked with many, many clients, and the stories that they share with me, my heart goes out with them. And then I just remind them, you're here for something bigger than you can ever imagine. And when we can remember that and understand that we are literally, every one of us are here for something bigger than we can ever imagine. I would like to think that where I am right now on my journey, that I reached my top of my mess, and that this is my biggest message to share. Not so true. I'm
Exactly.
sure.
I was
I am
like,
sure there is another mess that's ready to show up
mm-hmm.
and take center stage for whatever it is that I'm supposed to be doing next. The
That's
only
right.
difference between my first very big mess, going back that 12-year relationship, is now I'm more aware, I'm more
Mm-hmm.
conscious,
Mm-hmm.
and as I like to say, bring it on, because I'm ready. I'm
Right.
ready. I'm ready for that next layer. I sit back and say to myself, everything that I've gone through has led me to where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
So I can only imagine what the next mess is. And without getting into too much detail, I think I'm currently in a mess right now, which is actually not really my mess. And it's someone very close to my heart. And I'm going to just leave it there so it doesn't get too involved. It's her story to share, but to witness that, to literally witness someone else going through their mess.
Right.
And all you really can sit back and say, it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be okay. And wanting to do so much more, wanting to like give them the answers, because again, I know the answers. Spirit tells me, but that's not a part of their mess. They have to
Right.
get there. They have to get to it on their own. I can
Right.
just hold my light, hold space for them, and just be there when they need me.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do believe that is the next process of my next stage to my mess, the next layer to where I am transitioning off to. So it is a journey, and it is a process, but through all of this, just to like run down, just to give everyone a general idea of like, from that very moment of that relationship ending, it went from expanding my business, downsizing my business, expanding my business, downsizing my business, writing 6 books, becoming a Reiki master with the levels of achievements, creating a talk show, creating a card deck. Um, I'm a co-contributor to a monthly magazine that I write for, and there's just so much. There's so many things that has literally helped me to get to where I am. Working with crystals, mediumship work, helping women, empowering women to recognize that they too have a purpose, and
Mm-hmm.
really understanding our purpose. And sometimes we don't really know what our purpose is. And sometimes we know our purpose from the age of 12, like I did.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the process of recognizing what you've learned through your mess, and then
Right.
being able to take what you've learned through your mess and be ready to share that message. And I know for women specifically that so many women are fearful of being seen
Mm-hmm.
and fearful of being heard. And a big part of that mess could be just that. It's, you got to share your message. You got to put it out there. Find a way to share whatever it is in a way that people can connect with you and people can realize, like, oh, wow, if she went through that and was able to build herself to here, then I know I can too.
Exactly. And that's where I'm going to jump in right there, because that's exactly the purpose of this entire podcast, is to let you all know that whatever mess you're going through, you can get through. And I love the fact, and I love the way you shared multiple messes within your message, because I didn't even have to jump in and ask anything, because everything right there, you laid out how your messes affected you mentally, emotionally, how it affected your status of life. And you just said one thing about connecting. I do want to ask you that if there's anyone out there that would like to connect with you, do you have information that you can share with them on how they can do that?
Sure. Well, if they want to connect personally, they can email, which is healingwithin76@gmail.com. And if you want to connect just by getting to know more about what I do and see it actually, in the flesh, so to speak. I also have a YouTube, which is under Holistic Fitness and Why. And I'm on Facebook. You can find me under, what am I under on my Facebook page? My full name, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne. I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere. I have a talk show called Joanne's Healing Within. TV
Okay.
show is the first Monday of the month, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find it on Facebook under Strong Island Television. And if you're not able to watch it live, you can watch it on any of the many platforms: Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Twitch TV, also many podcasts, iHeartRadio, Audible, Spotify, you name it, I'm there.
Yes, awesome. And I will make sure that at the end, so make sure y'all stay tuned in the video. At the end of this video, I'll have all her links, all her information, so that you can connect with her and support her in all of what she's doing. And before we wrap up, I want to just ask you this. Are there any last words of encouragement to leave with the audience, especially if someone's going through similar messes, like, having that loss after 12 years in a relationship, maybe the loss of a loved one, maybe the loss of a business or the downsizing of a business? What would you suggest and how would you encourage them to come through that mess?
Well, before I answer that, I want to invite them, our women, to invite you over. I have an amazing, brand new, I mean, really brand new. It's called Women Empowering Women group that will be meeting the second Monday on Zoom. There is a Facebook group for it. It is a group membership, so you will need to invest in coming. And we'll have so many different topics in reference to mindfulness, cutting cords, writing that book, eating the cake, and so many more amazing topics, and not just limited to those topics. So if you are looking for a woman empowering women support group to help you get to that next place, or if you are currently in your mess, I would love for you to come join me at that group. And you can email to me that you're interested in attending that group, and I would be more than happy to get you all the information. Now, in regards to Tracey's final question, what is my words that I want to leave you with for today? And for any of you who are going through a similar mess that I've been through, or your own mess, remember, as I said earlier, the light shines within. You have to recognize you have light within you. It's important to see yourself. It's important to heal yourself. It's important to be seen. It's important to show up, because your mess is a message. So shine your light as big as you can shine that light, because there's somebody else standing next to you that has forgotten to turn their light on. So with you shining your light and me shining my light and Tracey shining her light, every one of us will be able to get to see and move away and move up and get inspired by the mess that we are in and appreciate it once we're out of the mess. We don't appreciate it when we're in the
Yeah,
mess.
that's right.
We don't appreciate it when we're in it because we're in it. It's
Mm-hmm.
messy. But
Mm-hmm.
once we really understand that mess is really our true message, you'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate every experience that you've gone through because you'll recognize that that's the very experience that got you to where you are right now. So shine your light.
Yes, I love it. Yes, shine your light. When you shine yours and I shine mine, we light up the world. And
Yes.
those messes, like what you just said, was so powerful because when you're in it, you don't see the light at the end because it's messy. But then once
Yes.
you get out of it, you can look back and say, man, I made it through that mess. I can make it through this mess.
Yes.
Thank you, thank
Yes.
you, thank you.
Yes. And
And do
remember the next mess will be messier because it's helping us to evolve to our next level.
Yes, ascension. And it gets you where you're supposed to be. And you know now you can handle bigger things. You can
Yes.
handle messier messes because you got through the first ones.
Yes, you
And
did.
I just want to thank you. Like, as we wrap up, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your stories. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it. And you can come back on at any time and share because I know, like you say, you may be going through another mess coming up. So if you
Yes.
want to come back on and share
That's
a new
it.
mess, I would
Yes.
love to have you.
Thank you so much for having me and allowing me this opportunity to share my message and to be that light. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So, everyone, as we wrap up another episode of What's Your Mess, I want to leave you with this powerful quote to take with you throughout your lives. If you want to be sad, keep thinking about the past. If you want to be anxious and worried, think about the future. But if you want to be happy, focus on the present day and be grateful for the things that you have. This is Tracey D. Armstrong with What's Your Mess. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Have a good one, y'all.